Good morning, everyone. What is the plan in you for greatness? What is the plan in you, in me, in us for greatness? That's what's unfolding today in the great solemnity of the Holy Trinity. Let's review last week. Last week we had the great solemnity of Pentecost. So the falling of the Holy Spirit, the emboldening of the apostles as they went forth. We put it this way: where did the apostles go from the upper room? Where did they go from the upper room? Well, they went to the marketplace. That's not really what I'm talking about. So what was it like to be in the upper room? Well, I'm sure there was some sadness. After all, they had walked with Jesus for 3 years, saw him crucified, died, he rose from the dead, and then he ascended into heaven. And he said, "Go and wait in Jerusalem. Wait for the advocate, the Holy Spirit." But they were, in a sense, together, and yet they were feeling alone. They were sad. I'm sure that some of them were angry that somehow now he's not with them. And we don't have to speculate about this one. Some of them doubted. It says in Matthew 28, he was there before them and they worshiped him. But some of them doubted. It says right there in the scriptures. And then he ascends into heaven. Well, I think we are in the upper room, are we not? Are we not filled with sadness? Are we not angered, infuriated, livid? Are some of us not doubting? Oh, I'm talking about these events in the last couple of weeks that unfolded here in the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston regarding our former bishop. And yet, the Feast of Pentecost, it couldn't have been a more appropriate one, because this is the movement of the Holy Spirit in the church as it begins to purge. I have to say, I am quite saddened by these revelations. I am angry, very angry, and I have fits of anger. And I rant sometimes, not usually in front of people. I'll just close the door and just get it out. But I do have to say, in all sincerity, I have no doubts. The church is holy in her sacraments. The church is holy in her teaching in the movement of the Holy Spirit over 2,000 years. And the church is holy in her saints. But she is filled with sinners. So where did they go? Where did the apostles go from the upper room? They went forward. And that's where we're going, because the Holy Spirit is leading us there. Now, today, what's the plan in you, in me, for greatness? Well, we are made in the image and likeness of the Holy Trinity. Now, what is the Holy Trinity? Well, one God, 3 persons. It's our fundamental mystery, and yet it's something that we will never comprehend. That is to say, we'll fully wrap our arms around. But we can know it to a certain degree once it is revealed to us, and Jesus revealed who God is. And this is it: a perfect communion of persons. That is the plan in you and me for greatness. to be in perfect communion. Well, how does that happen? Again, Jesus revealing it. So the Father gives himself completely to the Son. The Son receives himself from the Father and gives himself completely back to the Father. And that this exchange of love is so substantial, it's another person. The bond of the Holy Spirit. And so, in what image am I made in? In what image are you made in? It's the image of the perfect communion of persons, and that this unity happens when one gives oneself in sacrifice, and that sacrificial giving brings forth life. Today we celebrate Father's Day, a secular holiday, but I can't ignore, or I can't stop myself from thinking about the different people in my life, the men in my life who sacrificed. And I remember as a little boy, I shared with you before, was going to run this race. I was really worried about it. I was about ready to start the race, and there he was, my dad. Somehow he had found a way to get out of work, and he was there on the sidelines. He wasn't yelling for me, he was just there. I saw him, made all the difference. Didn't win the race that day. He didn't tell me he loved me that day, but he did give me a big hug, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm proud of you. You ran your best race, the best you could." I was 3rd out of 4. Okay? So he didn't have to tell me he loved me. Why? Because he was there. And I know it was difficult for him to get away, but he sacrificed, and that sacrifice brought forth life in his little boy. My grandfather, I just shared with you a few weeks ago. I'm disappointed in you, Denny, for joining the military. It wasn't so much he was disappointed that he just really wanted me to go to college. He felt as though I had that opportunity, but I didn't want to go into debt. And I also wanted to serve the country just like he did, just like my dad did, like my other grandfather. And then yet, weeks later, he would drive 1,000 miles to be there. And as I walked out to see who showed up for my boot camp graduation, there he was. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. It's the sacrifice that we make of ourselves that brings forth life in others. That's the template of greatness that is in you and in me. Lastly, I think of a good friend of mine, Jack, and I met him when I was approaching my 30s. He was a small business owner. Just his work ethic. He always teased me, "When are you going to get a job, Dennis? When are you going to get a job?" I left the military, did some volunteer work. Now I was in college. It was like, you're almost 30, buddy. All right, let's start working. And I think he might be proud of me today. I know he is. He tells me that he is. Who are those people that sacrifice for you and that bring forth life? And who do you do that for in others? This is the plan in you for greatness. The Holy Trinity, a perfect communion of persons.